Hello, you look so nice and pretty, and I look like very not. How
No,
are
your
you?
hair. I like your hair. It looks good. I like your glasses too. Yeah, I just took a shower, so that's why.
Yeah, and I just came back from pet sitting, so I look pretty crusty here,
Yeah,
but I
it's
don't
pretty
care.
hot here. So yeah, I was outside walking and doing flowers, so I was like, well, I better take a shower.
Well, we better let me get this live on Facebook, and then I'll start letting people in once. Okay, stop doing that.
Alexa, fireplace light at 10%. Excuse me, barking. You already ate.
You know what? I'm going to also make you a moderator.
Okay.
And then I'm going to share it to everyone. Let's see. I'll make you a moderator. Oh, we're being live streamed right now.
All right. And then there's the chat.
Yeah, let me just make you a moderator here and we'll get ready. Make co-host. Okay, you're now a co-host. So if you see anybody coming on, and let me just get onto I want to get onto the Facebook page. Oh, I am on there. Okay. Greetings, everyone. This is Donna. We haven't seen you in a while, since Christmas, maybe. I don't know. We are going to be talking, we're a little early this year because I'm going to be away out of the country for a few weeks starting next week. So
which is probably better because they got to plan ahead anyway.
Yeah, this way you can plan ahead on what you need to do before the 4th of July, because it's a big one for pets. Unfortunately not for Rudy because he can't hear, so he doesn't really react to any of that.
That's one benefit of
of going deaf, right? So if you guys don't know, Rudy's gone deaf, and he's still as sweet as ever, although we can't sneak up behind him any longer because he gets grumpy. And so there goes that. Anyway, so we're gonna just talk about I forgot what I was going to talk about, but we're going to be talking about how to keep your pets safe during the holiday, and what you can do. And this is for cats as well, just so you know. So I'm going to let Jenny talk, and I'm going to share this out in different places. My hair is just a total mess here. But anyway, Jenny, why don't you introduce yourself and, tell us what you do, and we'll take it from there. And if you have any questions, you guys, you can post them in the comments below.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jenny Grant with Train Your Best Friend. I've been working with dogs from deprivation backgrounds for many years, and fear, anxiety, and aggression are my specialties. And it's been doing it for a long time, been helping with the puppy mill group for a long time. I think it's a decade, right? Or more. But yes, this is always an important topic to prepare for these kind of sounds and things, like fireworks. I'm going to talk a little bit about thunderstorms because we're also in that season as well. Are you muted, Donna?
Yes, I am. Sorry. I was talking to you and then I was like, oh, there we go.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, just let me know when you want me to start, or
go ahead and start. Do you
okay.
You don't have slides, do you? We didn't.
No, okay. I was just gonna wing it. We've done it every year. We've done it every year. So I was just gonna hit the highlights.
Yeah.
So sharp sounds like fireworks are often very scary for dogs, especially if you've recently adopted a dog, or you have a dog that is fear sound sensitive already. It can get to phobic levels where dogs go through windows. So it can get quite dangerous, go through screens. It is good to prepare for. If you've recently gotten your dog, whatever you do, don't expose them to fireworks sounds or firecrackers if you can. Plan on bringing them in earlier before the things start. If you're the kind of person that lives in the neighborhood where people start weeks ahead and weeks after 4th of July, kind of plan accordingly. Some people are in cities or they know they're going to be near the fireworks. If you have an extreme case dog, we'll talk about a couple ways of dealing with it. One way is if you know it's going to be a big issue and you can get out of the area and maybe stay with a friend or a relative that lives where there's less fireworks nearby. That's one possible solution. Sometimes I have people that go in the basement or the quietest place in their house, turn the lights on, have the TV going. You could even have sound machines. It's good to get them used to the sound machines before you try this with something. I like the constant sound machines. So there's one that's designed for an apartment. It's sort of like a fan. So it's a white noise kind of thing. It's consistent. Some of the sound machines have varying sounds. So those will allow the sounds to get through. So you want the ocean or the one that's kind of consistent sound machine. With my collie, I've used TV plus the sound machine, and that was helpful. But yeah, so you may want to plan to be in the basement somewhere where your dog feels safe. If your dog has a safe zone, like let's say they like to go up and go into the bed when they're scared, or they like to go in the bathroom in the bathtub, or they like to go into the closet, let them do that because that soothes them. So I would go ahead and let them do that as long as it's safe. I had years ago, I had a very phobic German Shorter Pointer, and she was very afraid of hot air balloons, fireworks, gunshots, anything kind of like that. And what I would do with her is she was safer in the basement and she would go under this desk, and that was kind of her comfort zone. So if you have something like that, kind of think about where would be the best place.
Or put into, like, I used to put Rudy into our bedroom and I would put in on classical music.
Soft classical music has been shown to reduce stress, but that will also have the gaps. So I would like you to have a sound machine and the soft classical music. Sometimes the TV, like it depends on the dog or the animal. Sometimes the TV is a good source because it kind of is varied sounds along with the sound machine. So they're less likely to react to kind of a sound outside because they're kind of varied. On the other hand, some dogs react to the TV. So you don't want to do that with those kind of.
Right.
So, but with my collie, it was better. And I noticed on days that I left the TV on for him, he was better outside about reacting to sounds. Because I think it just had a variety of sounds.
Right.
Certainly if you have the kind of dog that's going to go hit the TV, because there are dogs like on certain sounds.
Rudy actually did that with a certain president. He heard his voice and he would go crazy. I'm not kidding. You saw
some
those
of them
videos.
will literally try to take that TV down off the wall. So that's dangerous. So with those dogs, you're not going to do this.
No, you don't want that.
But those are the things. And, you can try a little essential lavender oil on a little bed, very little. Remember, their sense of smell is you don't want to overwhelm them with scents, just very little, like on the bedding, diluted. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it's just a little something to add. The other thing with fireworks and thunderstorm and these kind of sound fears is they have developed some new drugs. So you may want to talk to your veterinarian or have your veterinarian consult a veterinary behaviorist. So they're basically the psychiatrist of the veterinary world, veterinary behaviorists, and they're board certified. You have to check that they have the full.
And they're the ones who would prescribe medications, right, if needed? Would that
Well,
be?
well, it's just like with people, you know,
Right.
your family doctor might prescribe something to you, right? But there's a psychiatrist, which is a level above that and specialized. So I really try to, if possible, consult the veterinary behaviorists, because they're the ones that work with those drugs every day and know the combinations.
Right.
There
right.
are some new things out, so it may be worth talking to some people.
And what do you
know,
think
to
about
see.
CBD? I know we've talked about this
I
before.
don't have enough data to be comfortable with it yet. I want to see
Okay.
a lot of research to be comfortable, because I have seen some research that wasn't so great. So I wanted to just make sure it's safe. And so
It doesn't work on Rudy, I will tell you that. He still runs around the house and gets anxious. And so
and
I've
it's
tried
also
it.
like it's also like the new coconut oil, you know, it's the cure for everything and everybody thinks it does everything. And that gets me really suspicious when people start doing that.
Right.
So, you know, I would be really careful. I'd want to see, and I'm sure that people will be doing studies. And so we will have the information, you know,
Right.
it'll be coming, but because it's like the thing now. But I'm not comfortable with it yet. No.
Okay.
I don't know how, you know, effects on their body and also the psychological effects. I want to know a lot more about. But you can certainly talk to your vet about it. You know,
Okay.
they may refer you to something. that
Another
isn't-
thing has been brought to my attention is sometimes acupuncture can help calm. I don't know if you know anything about acupuncture at
Yeah.
all.
You know, I've had clients. What I usually find is you have behavior modification. You have your behavior modification plan, which
Right.
has many facets. And then you can add other things to it. So acupuncture would be, you know, something else you could add. Sometimes people do massage, and that works. That helps with some dogs. So,
Right.
you know, it kind of is along with the plan.
Right.
Now, for people that are not comfortable using Western drugs, that may be a good, you know, avenue for them to explore.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, try it for a while. If you do not see a marked improvement, just wean off of whatever it is.
Okay.
Because, you know, there's no point in doing something that doesn't work. So, you know, it kind of helps to do one thing at a time, because then you can say some of these things are really expensive.
Yes.
And then you can kind of say, okay, this is helping. So we will continue with this. Like we've seen reduced pacing, we've seen reduced drooling, we've seen, you know, less reaction from the dog. You want to see a marked difference. If you're doing the drugs, a lot of them take 6 weeks. So you have to wait the full 6 weeks to see whether you see a difference.
Right.
And again, I never see anything that's night and day. You still have to do the behavior modification and to get.
And one thing I would say, because I worked at an animal shelter, please keep your pets inside, including your cats and whoever
Yes.
else you have, whether it's rabbits or whatever, you know,
And this
because
is, yeah, this is a good time to make sure that you have an ID with your cell phone and your
Right.
street address.
right.
And I
And
would have you,
microchip.
yeah,
you
yeah,
can.
and the microchip. But you want the tag too, because so if somebody, if
Right.
your neighbor finds, they're gonna, if they see that, you know, oh, it's down the street, I'll bring the animal back down the street, as opposed to calling animal control. If they don't see the address, they may be more apt to put the
Just call
dog.
animal control
Yeah.
and have them pick them up because they
Yeah.
don't know anything about the
So
animal.
I like to
Yeah.
have the cell phone and your physical address.
Right.
And so that's a very good point. This is a really good time, because like I said, some dogs will pop through windows, they'll pop through screens.
And not just dogs either. That's what I was getting
Yeah,
at. You
yeah,
know,
or
cats
even,
are-
you know,
cats are
even
really-
horses and things, you know, they're all, a lot of the animals, this is going to be scary for them.
It used to be the busiest day of the year at the animal shelter with intakes was July 5th.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because they're
Because
scared.
they were all, you know, and I remember finding dogs in DC and, you know, having to find. I mean, now it's a lot easier because of the microchips and because of things like Nextdoor or even
Right.
Facebook, you know, that
I
people
still
are
don't
able to.
trust them to always, I like the microchips. I always microchip my animals, but I still
Yeah.
don't trust them to check. So you want
Yeah.
the tag and the microchip.
That's true.
And if there was an emergency or an accident, your animal was injured, the quicker they can reach you, the better.
Right.
So that's the other thing. So that's a very good point. Everybody should definitely do that. A lot of what I'm saying also applies to thunder, like going in the basement and doing that. So if you have a dog that's sound sensitive, like when I had the dog that was thunder phobic, I would always, when it was thunder season, I would always leave her in the basement because there was no windows for her to jump out of.
Right.
And she did go through a screen once.
Oof.
She really would go into a blind panic.
No, for the people, and Gwen, we're gonna ask you if you want to ask some questions in a few minutes. But for the people, because there's, you know, I part-time pet sit. So for the people who go away, you know, it's a little different because there's a lot of times there's no person there, you know, because the pet sitter is just coming in to feed them and walk them and take care of them. Sometimes they get overnight people, but is there something that you can recommend that for the pet sitters to do?
Well, again, I wouldn't take them out late. I'd be planning on getting everybody out during the daylight early. I would be
Yeah.
really extra careful that those harnesses and everything are fitted. I really would probably just hang out in the yard that day and not do a lot of outings, you know,
Right.
where you're going to pass, all of a sudden there's going to be firecrackers and things, because the animals might panic, and especially when people are away, dogs could be much more afraid.
Oh, they're a lot more stressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there somewhere, because again, these people aren't necessarily in the houses with them. So is there something special that can be done that the owners can do, the guardians can do, or the sitters do something extra
Are
special?
you talking about if they're sitting for them in the guardian's home?
Yeah. Like a lot, like, so what I do is
So I
I go,
would, if
I
I was,
feed them like a couple times a day and walk
right,
them, and that's it. And then they're alone. So what
right.
can we do to make sure that
So
they're,
again, you might want to be talking to the guardians about, shall I leave the lights on? Shall I close all the shades? Shall I keep them in the quietest part of the house? You know, should I put the TV on? Do you have a sound machine or music or
right,
something? You know, is there an area of the house that's safe that the animal likes to go to when they're scared, and letting them have access to that?
okay,
Because a lot of times that's actually the best case scenario, is they like to go into the bed or they like to go in the
yeah,
closet, and
yeah,
they kind of are soothed by that. So those things, again, I would probably use really nice treats during that time to try to distract them if you can. If they're very afraid, they're just going to blow those off, but sometimes that'll work a little bit, especially with practice. Leave them with some special treats and things. Try to jolly them up a little bit. If you're
So
there.
we have Gwen with us, and maybe Gwen has a question for you.
Sure. Hi, Gwen, how are you?
You're on mute.
Good. Thank you for meeting with me again. I appreciate
Sure,
it.
Well, we
know.
are on Facebook Live, as long as you know that.
Yes,
So
just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to say thank you. I think everything's going well in terms of Clam. That's the name of our dog. I think, we did go away for we left them with some of the neighbors' dog sitting, and that was really hard on her. She had a really difficult time with that. But I think she's thrived, yeah. I don't really know that I have very many questions. I just like to come because I think it's
Sure,
really,
yeah.
but see, that's what we were talking about, leaving either the sitter coming to the house, or leaving the sitter, leaving the dog with somebody, during the holiday. It's a really stressful time. And what I was trying to get at is, what can that sitter do, or what can that caretaker do to to minimize it? So
yeah, I mean, the best thing is, a lot of times for this kind of fear, and if you've adopted an animal, I would take all the precautions, because it only takes one exposure to get into, really intense fear and create an issue. So try to protect them from these kind of sounds and avoid it whenever you can. If you do get an exposure, again, try to jolly them up afterwards and keep things calm and let them settle down. But if the guardian can set up, like I said, like a safe room and play games with the dog there and or cat.
Yeah,
and,
she came back quite fat because apparently, because she got lots of
Yes.
treats. But
Yeah.
I think she's settled well. I'll just say one time we were at the beach, it was way after 4th of July and they were still setting off firecrackers and
That's the thing. It can be all summer, it really
Yeah.
can.
we had to
Especially
take her
the
'cause
last couple years.
she just was really distraught. And so I had to give her, but she calmed down. I mean, she's, so yeah, I mean, everyone says she's doing well, and I always love to hear that because I don't see the progress as well as, but one thing we have dealt with this year that's been really good is she kind of had these recurrent ear infections, scratchy ears, and so I finally, she went to a dermatologist and they, and she had, I think it's like a mild steroid that's like 0.1% or something, like a really mild dilution that I put in pretty regularly. And the problem is that the vet that I take her to doesn't do a lot of education. They do diagnosis and treatment, but they don't do education. So I had to go to a different vet to get education, but I think she's doing really well.
Yeah, I had a dog with chronic ear issues. That can be difficult. And I always had to clean them often. And the minute he started to have problems, I had to go through the whole thing of the drops and everything.
Yeah. So yeah, I think she's doing well. She's going to the vet next week on the 24th. So that'll be,
Good.
but no, mostly she's just doing well. She's not around right now.
Good. I'm glad it's going well for you.
But the heat is hard for her. The heat is hard on her on the pads. I've seen like
some people will do the little booties. I mean, you do have to classically condition them because the pavement does get too hot.
Yeah.
Grass is usually fine, but the pavement and even sand can get too hot.
Yeah.
So you will see people with the little booties.
Yeah.
But they hate them. So you have to classically condition and like hold it up, give them a treat, and really get them used to it gradually.
Yeah.
Some people do. The city people do it a lot.
The other thing is, this is probably the first year in 3 years that we're going to have large 4th of July events. So, I'm sure I know what you're going to say, but to keep your pets at home, don't take them. They don't like it.
Oh yeah, absolutely never take them. I don't think it's humane at all to have them anywhere near fireworks or anything that makes those kind of sounds.
Right. I mean,
and they're here. It's not just the fear, it's their ears are very sensitive. So it's really not humane, I don't think.
Right. They don't like it. That's when that's where most of the animals from the shelter would come from. These people would be at events. They think it's nice that they bring their animals with them, and they don't understand that they don't like it. I used to bring
it's not humane. Absolutely should not. Around here, the last few years, and where I lived before, they were doing a lot of fireworks, like backyard fireworks.
Yeah, we have some of that here too, actually. It's not supposed to happen.
So we have had that like almost throughout the year. I think they did it New Year's too, and stuff like that. So that's hard because it's not just one time you're preparing for.
Yeah, I find that it's like, so I don't know, Gwen, because we live in the same neighborhood, what you think, but I think it happens like for at least several nights to a week after the 4th of July. So definitely the night before and the night after, so people just need to be aware of that there's just some yahoos that like to throw off their fireworks.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, maybe it's because I've only been here during the pandemic. I think I've only been here for 4th of July during the pandemic.
That's right. You're new. Still.
Yeah. So I don't remember that at all, but I do know that when we were at the beach in the middle of July, like on a Thursday night, we were out, like there was a band playing out out at a
Right.
bar, like outside, and there were definitely fireworks going off. And even if I covered her ears to the best of my ability, and she
Oh,
still
that's
like,
the other thing I did want to say. For some really sound sensitive dogs, people will classically condition, they have these ear, 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 ear
Muffs.
muffs. Yes,
Yeah, or
basically.
plugs, yeah.
They're sound muffs. And they do make those. So if you
Oh.
do have a dog where that's an extreme, again, you would have to classically condition it and get them used to it with food. But there are people that do that, people that bring the dogs up in the helicopters, the dog always has the ear protection.
right.
So they do make those.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we didn't,
Scott
yeah,
says they're called dog muffs.
yeah.
Dog muffs, is that what they're called?
Yeah, yeah, so they do exist. So yes, so they do exist. So that is another, option if you really have a sound sensitive
Right.
animal and you can't prevent the sound in any other way. The other thing I would say is if you know you have a sound sensitive, you want to reduce stress in every other way you can, and you want to keep your routine really calm, really consistent. This isn't the time to be doing new things and meeting new people and things like that, because you could be setting yourself up for having a hard time and making it more traumatic for the dog. You do want to reduce their stress as much as possible during that time if you know it's going to be challenging for them.
Okay. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions. There haven't been any questions. There's been highs and hellos from certain
Hi.
people. Robin Smith says hi, and Cindy Razudik Mayers says hi. And but nobody's had any questions yet,
Okay.
so we can keep
Yeah,
going.
and this all goes back to it's all of these sounds, gunshots, fireplaces where they pop, the wood pops, so they can react to all of these things. So it's good to keep that in mind, because I think sometimes people don't realize how frightening that could be to the
Right.
animals. So when you first adopt a dog, it's not a great time to make this big popping fire, that kind of thing. And to be aware that might be scary.
And also like the bubble wrap. She didn't like
Yes,
the bubble wrap either, which
Yeah.
was Bernhanu was popping the bubble wrap and she was
Yes.
like terrified. But anyway, I have to go. So
Okay, nice talking
Well,
to
thanks for
you.
joining us, Gwen.
yeah, I have the 7:30 meeting, so I'm really sorry, but
I'm glad it's going well, and I hope you join us next month.
yeah, I will. I'm sorry I couldn't come last month. I was traveling. I was actually on a plane.
Sure, yeah.
It was really
And I
sad.
messed up last week, so that was my thing. I messed up the time.
Yeah, we had a communication thing.
A communication breakdown is right. But
It
yeah,
happens.
oh, we'll see you next month, Gwen.
Bye-bye,
Okay.
Gwen.
Bye.
So, I'm just trying to think of anything else we need to go over, because we've gone over a lot already.
The other thing I would say for dogs with just fears, or I'm getting a lot of fear of people after COVID, because the dogs were isolated
Right.
more than usual. So another thing to remember this time of year is there's going to be more people out, and there are going to be more weird outfits and more things to be scared of. So just kind of take it easy on that. Try to go places with less people and get your dog gradually used to it. Work up a behavior modification plan if that is the case.
Right.
On how to handle guests and things. And we do a monthly, Donna and I do a monthly Zoom if you have a rescued puppy mill dog, a hoarding case dog, or anything kind of dog from that kind of deprivation background. And
Yeah, let
that's
me get
free.
the,
So we do that every month, if you want to talk about that. And a lot of those dogs carry quite a bit of fear.
Yes. Yeah, not all of them are puppy mill dogs, but all of them are fearful dogs.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just trying to, before we go, I want to get the link here so people can join. Hold on one second. And
Sure.
I mean, I guess we can kind of wrap it up,
Hmm.
if you want, but I wanted to know if you had
Yes.
any last minute things to talk
The
about.
other thing I would say is it's a myth that you can reinforce fear by comforting your dog. If being on your lap and you petting them comforts them, do that. Or feeding them comforts them. You can't reinforce an emotion with something that feels good. You can't make fear worse by doing something comforting. Your
Right.
friend was really upset and you brought them a cup of tea and macaroni and cheese or something, and that was comforting for them, that would help them. That wouldn't make them be more upset. So that's a myth. The thing I do tell people is try not to worry with your animal. So you don't want to see, they are very sensitive at picking up our emotions. So you do
Right.
want to try to be calm, quiet, and, happy or joyful, but, just kind of light. You don't want to torture them or anything by being too jolly, but, you want to keep it like that you're confident, that you're not afraid.
Okay.
But you can comfort them. You can pet them.
We do have a question
Sure.
from Robin. She said, can you train a mill dog to come to you?
Probably.
Yeah, she said, we live in Colorado and we try to go to our cabin on the 4th because there's no other people around.
Great.
I had a previous dog with a sound fear and I would leave the closet door open so she could hide during storms.
Excellent.
That's a great idea. But
Yeah.
my dog comes to me.
So the way you would, again, a lot of times with the mill dogs, we are trying to get to the point where they will take food from you. And that's so that you can do a little bit of training with them. So if the dog is at the point where they will take food from you and, be really creative about how great that food is, it could be like meat or cheese, or if your dog's stomach could handle it, something super exciting. And what you could do is mark every time the dog is moving towards you and then drop the treat.
Right.
And gradually, it depends. So some of the mill dogs, they're hard to handle. So you also need to classically condition being able to get them.
Right.
What we do, if it's a really skittish mill dog, what we'll do a lot of times is they have a harness and maybe a little tab on the back so that you can grab that instead of trying to grab the dog, which would be too scary. So sometimes we'll have a permanent harness on them and a little bit of a tail of not a full leash, but a little bit of something to hang on to. But you want to be able to work up to gradually being able to pick that up, give them a treat and walk away. But you want to do that within their comfort level.
Yeah.
So you start really, it may be at first just reaching your hand out from a few feet away, and
I
toss a
find
treat.
giving Rudy like an extremely valuable treat. He'll come to anything. He'll come for anything anyway, food related, but that's besides the
Right.
point. But I have been teaching him hand signals. So he
Right.
knows hand signals.
Right.
I've also noticed that he's gotten louder, now that he's deaf, it's like an old man syndrome, they can't hear, so they start talking really loud. And, anyway, that's some of his things. So that's the thing that we have to work on. I do this to him, I'll go like this because he understands that. He walks away, I don't do, you can't yell at him because he can't hear you. So we just do this and then he like kind of looks at me and walks away for a few minutes. It's pretty good, actually. It's working pretty well. But
they pick up physical signals better than verbal cues.
Yeah.
They have done studies, so they are very good at, as long as you're consistent with the cue,
I made up
they
my
get
own
the
hand
signals.
signals, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, what do? I make him go, I do this for stay. I use the hand for stay. And he does that. And then I do this for come. And he watches. I notice he watches a lot more, so.
Do you want to ask Robin if I answered the question? I don't know exactly what's happening with her dog, so it's a little hard to.
Yeah. She didn't really, let me see if she came back and asked. It is delayed, so we have to remember that. Oh, she said she takes a treat and runs away. And that what she also said is I have a I fenced a smaller area. Oh, she said, yes, you did. She said, I fenced a smaller area for her to run and I corner her to bring her in. When I let her go into the larger area, I put her on a leash. So on a leash to run so I can get a hold of her easier. I
That's
don't know
good.
about,
That's great.
yeah, but what about cornering? Because that can be kind
If
of,
you cannot corner, that would be better because
Yeah.
then that's interfering with the relationship with you. But I know sometimes these people have no other choice.
right,
Another thing is you could put a long line on the dog. You know, so they have a light line on them so that you
Right.
can have a little bit more control about whether they get away or not. You know, we don't want them to get away. So that is another thing, is getting like a light cord from like Home Depot, and I would put knots in it because you don't want rope burn. But that is a good way to practice too, is to have that line on the dog so that you don't, you know, you still have the dog. So there's not a chance that they're gonna duck under the fence or dig under the fence or do something like that, or to just practice coming to you. I would, if she has to do the cornering, you know, it's just a fact of life to get the dog in. I don't know the situation, whether it's a small dog and he can't get in on his own. I don't know. I would give a treat when you get the dog. And
right.
like when you put them down in the house or whatever it is, I would give them another treat to try to jolly that up, because we don't want to interfere with the trust in you. So we
Right.
want to try to minimize as many stressful events with you as possible. But I know there's situations where, you know, they can't get out of it. They're in an apartment. They've got to get the dog in the carrier or on the leash to get outside. You know, there are things like that. But a lot of times with mill dogs, a lot of them can hold their bladders for a long time and their bowels for a long time. And I'll say, okay, just take them out once, if, you know, once or twice, if they can hold it, rather than stressing them out by trying to take them out quite, you know, often, especially in the beginning,
Right.
trying to see what works for the dog.
And so if they do lose an animal, I know we kind of touched on it. I mean, for me, my suggestions are to look at all the veterinarians and call them up, see if they found
Yes.
anybody, check the animal shelters right away, call
Yeah,
them. go
you
by
want to
there.
do animal control for all of your areas, and
Right.
dogs can go quite far. They can go miles.
Right,
So you do want to, animal control can be very confusing because the boundaries, so you could be calling 5 different places.
right,
So you want to make sure, don't be afraid to check animals that the description does not match exactly, because sometimes they're mistaken.
right, right. No, they are. I
but-
also find that using social media really works well too, especially
Right, yeah.
not so much, not so much Facebook. Although there might be some Facebook local pages, but Nextdoor works. I actually helped somebody find their dog, you know, on Nextdoor with.
And I would do flyers with the dog's picture
Yeah.
if your dog is lost, you know.
And
for,
and
then put them up as many places as you possibly can.
one of the chip companies that I use, they are constantly sending me photos
Yes,
of dogs or cats or rabbits, whoever that's missing.
right.
So you can use those to post on
Yeah,
your
there are
social media.
services
So,
that are, you know, supposed to notify like all
Right.
the vets and all the, you know, there are services that will help you do that if you need help. I forget what is it called? Lost and found or lost in something.
yeah. But the one that
and-
I have, it's the microchip that I have for Rudy. I'm constantly, I mean, you probably see that on my Facebook more than anything, because I'll just, I'm just going to find the name of it so you can keep going here.
Yes, and sometimes the newspaper will let you report. That's kind of old fashioned, but you never know. Could be somebody who's not really that tech savvy and, you know, reads the paper. So sometimes they'll let you put in lost descriptions as well.
Right. I'm trying to remember. Can't find it. You know, I see it all the time. I get it all the time. And now that I'm looking for it, it's not there. But anyway, a
But
lot of
there,
the,
if-
oh,
yeah,
it's
if you-
called Home Again Pet Rescuers. That's what it's called.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, I have a chip with Rudy, so they'll send me photos of it's mostly dogs and cats. And I just share them out. I don't know whether it helps, but it's worth it. And if it's really close, I'll put it on the Nextdoor app because that's more likely.
Yeah, you want people to see it as often as possible. And you want them to know that you care about the dog, you know.
Right.
Somebody cares and it's not just a dog that somebody left out.
So I posted on the Puppy Mill group, the group that we have, the support group that you and I do
Mhm.
once a month. I just put it on my personal Facebook page. Let's see. I want to see if there's any more questions before we go. Oh, Robin said she's had her dog for 7 months. She said oh, wait, here she goes. She's giving us a lot of stuff here. She said she uses a soft 50-foot parachute cord when we're in the mountains. And then,
Excellent.
yeah. And then she has the dog is a toy schnauzer. I've heard of miniatures. She must be teeny tiny. And she goes into the same corner. A treat sounds good, but she won't eat it once I pick her up. And then she's
So
had
you
her
could
for
do
7
it.
months.
So a lot of times what I do, if they won't take the treat when I want, then maybe when you put her down, then kind of put it down for her, the treat.
Right.
And eventually she might start taking it sooner and sooner. you
Right.
know.
When they're stressed, a lot of
with
times they
time.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the handling, but I do find that even if you put the treat a little bit delayed, it still can get closer and closer and still work with time.
And wouldn't you recommend a harness versus just a regular collar?
Absolutely. Well, I always recommend harnesses over collars for everyone. I prefer harnesses. And you do want to be careful. The reaction to like kind of fireworks and those kind of things, that's when they can really get wriggly. So you want to make sure it's a harness they can't get just back out of.
Okay.
or
Yeah.
wriggle out of. I have had a couple clients where we had to put 2 harnesses on.
I have a cat who can wriggle his way out of anything. He's Houdini. So
Yeah, and sometimes what we'll do is we'll put a clip, if it's a no pull harness, clip to the harness and the collar if we're afraid of that, because that can keep them from doing that.
okay. So she said she uses a harness and a collar with a clip between the two. That's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, she's savvy. She knows what she's
Yeah.
doing.
Robin, you should join our group. You should join our group.
Yeah, sounds like she's doing a lot of great things. That's great.
So I think
Great. And I would reserve the really best food for having the dog come. The best food, they can meat baby food or fat free cream cheese or something, broth for the little guys. Sometimes broth is good in a dropper.
yeah.
Something that's the only time the dog is going to get that, whatever it is. Okay,
So-
I think we look like we're wrapping up, don't you think? Unless you have.
Yeah. So if you want to join us, we're not on Zoom every month. Facebook every month, because we leave that for the special events like this. And then we also do a Facebook the next one is usually in the fall when we do a Puppy Mill roundup.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving one, and then we do a Puppy Mill roundup, what's been happening in the Puppy Mill world, which a lot of stuff has been happening lately. I don't know if you guys know, but New York is next to stop selling dogs and cats in pet
Right.
stores. So they just signed a bill, I believe. So anyway, I appreciate everyone coming here, and please share this out to anybody who you think might need this for their animals. And
good luck. I know it's really hard when you have a
It is
sound
hard.
sensitive dog. It's very stressful for everybody.
it is. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Let me just get off. Let me stop live stream. I think I stopped. Yeah. Okay. So we're good. That was
Great.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a small group, but I think it's going to be Oh, let me stop recording.